Okay, so here we have a function. Graph of y equals fx is shown on the grid. So it's just a function. They've given you the graph there. It's quadratic, but it doesn't really matter for this case because what we're going to be doing is sketching this function in a different position. Okay, and the function is f of x, and what they're doing to it, they're minusing 1 from x. So one key thing to remember when you're like moving these graphs around, like by translation, is if it's inside the bracket, you are going to be changing the x axis rather than the y. Oh, excuse me. So that's, if I can just get you to think about that. I mean, you can try it out on other. GeoGebra is a really good tool to play around and see what happens as you do things inside brackets, or if you look further down here, you're doing something outside the bracket, outside the function. But inside the bracket, you're moving it side to side along the x-axis. Okay, so you're only affecting the x coordinates. Now, that said as well, when it's inside the bracket, when it's x, it's always the opposite of what you expect. So if it says -1, you are going to be adding 1, so you're going to be going in this direction. Okay, so this is my function, and if it's the x1 and I'm moving it in the right direction, my function is now going to be, this is going to be my top point now, and it's going to kind of go down here, and everything's going to be moved like along one roughly. It's going to be a bit roughly anyway, because they will allow for, you know, certain kind of, you can see the dots I put there. So if I'm just going to, the main point they will be interested in is that the top point there, because that's the obvious one. It's -1, 1. It's now actually 0, 1. So you've moved it along the x-axis, shifted it +1, and that's it really. Okay, that's just one mark. So really, as long as you've shown you're going the right direction, you'll get your mark. Write down the coordinates of the turning point of the graph, and then again they're doing this time 2 things to the function. Okay, so function, and this is the one we're looking at, the initial one, the first function, this one here. Wow, that I did not think that pen was going to go that crazy. I'm just going to rub that out, sorry. So that one anyway. So that's the one we're going to be moving. So write down the coordinates this time. They don't want you to draw it or anything. They just want the coordinates. The turning point of the graph. The turning point of the graph is here. It's where it turns. It turns down. So it's going up and then it turns down. So that's the turning point. So the turning point at the moment is minus. So I just select pen. Is -1, 1. So we want to know what's going to happen to it when we minus x, so reflecting and then shifting as well. So when you, again, it goes with the same thing here. When it's inside the bracket, you are affecting the x-axis values only. So, and when I do that, it's again almost opposite what you think. The reflection will be in the y-axis because you are shifting it just along the x-axis in this direction. So therefore, the reflection will be across the y-axis. So this point here, -1, 1, becomes now 1, 1. But I'm not just moving it, I'm not just reflecting it, I'm actually adding 2 as well. Now it's on the outside, it's outside of the bracket now, so therefore it affects the y-axis, and the y-axis behaves a bit nicer. and it actually goes the way you expect. So it's adding 2. So if you're adding 2 to this function, you'll be moving it up 1 and then 2. So this point here, minus 1, 1, first of all goes to 1, 1, and then moves up 2 spaces. So the new coordinate's going to be 1 and 3. Okay, I hope that's relatively clear. But I think the main thing about shifting these graphs is that if it's inside the bracket, you effectively move it along the x-axis and opposite of what you expect. And if it's on the outside of the bracket, it is a y-axis move, it's up and down, or it's flipped over the x-axis if it's on this side, and it behaves kind of how you would expect a little bit more. Okay, so I hope that's kind of helped you with transforming graphs, functions, but please comment down below if you need any further guidance. Thank you.